Welcome to Let's Grow Buffalo, where today we're transplanting our onions. So if you guys recall, I ended up starting these back in, it was February, March this year. They're ready to be transplanted out. These have actually been hardened off too, so you don't want to just take things that are growing under a grow light and immediately plant it outside. The sun is way more intense than any light you could possibly have inside of your house. So you want to make sure that these are adjusted accordingly. So about a week or so ago, I took these out. I started leaving it under a covered porch on direct sunlight. And this could get kind of used to the regular outdoor elements it would be exposed to before I planted in this open space. So I built this bed this year with the thought of putting a lot of things in it. I've got a layout of what I want to go in here. First thing I'm putting in, the first thing that's going to be ready is onions. So I've got the bed filled with a little bit of topsoil for filler, a little bit of peat moss, compost, some aged manure. I'm just topping it off with some bagged, really finely shredded garden soil, just to make it a little bit easier to work with. It's a little small, a little finer than some of the other stuff I have, so it makes it a lot easier when you're transplanting this in. All right, let's take a closer look. So looking at the seed packet that I have, these onions need about 3 inches of space to grow. You can always grow them closer, but you're going to get smaller onions. You can always grow them farther apart, which should help you get bigger onions, at least to a certain extent. But it says 3 inches apart, so you might not be able to see the holes, but I kind of have them marked with sticks and screwdrivers there. All I basically do when I'm transplanting these seedlings is just make a really narrow hole. Next up, all I'm going to do here is just try and squeeze the sides of this, break it up a little bit, and try and pull some of this brick gently out of here. I might even be able to get a decent flip. It's actually kind of a cool view there. You can see all of the roots trying to find their way to moisture in here. Yeah, let's shake this out. Perfect. All right, so just like that, we've already got a piece that has fallen out perfectly undamaged. So this is actually one of the white onions that ended up seeding late for me. As you can see, it's got a few really wiry roots down here attached to this little ball of dirt. Essentially all I'm going to do is when I go to plant this in the dirt, I'm just going to plant it up to about here. You want to have a little bit of the white under the soil. You don't want to let this thing dry out and have just the roots. You want to put a little bit of the bulb under and make sure you're not cutting off any photosynthesis to the green of the leaf there. Okay, so I'm going to start over here, and I made these holes nice and deep. I should be able to just drop this in. Maybe I didn't make it quite big enough, but nothing I can't do. Just a little bit like that. Pack it in a little bit. That gives these especially floppy leaves here a little bit more stability. And there we have it, onion seed. All right, got the onion seedlings in the ground. I pressed down just enough to make sure they have a little bit of stability in there, get rid of some of the air pockets. I didn't press down as hard as I could, just enough to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to be. Now, a lot of these are kind of floppy right now, so they're kind of just hanging out in the dirt. You don't really want any of your plants to be in direct contact with the dirt if you can help it. So what we're going to do next is mulch over top of it, which also helps it retain moisture too, and it helps kill any weeds too. You don't want like a dandelion seed flying in here and landing right next to where that's growing, because that's just going to sap some of the nutrients that it needs to grow and eventually bulb. So I'm going to lay down some straw here. The stuff that I'm using is finely shredded, but you can use other stuff too. I know a lot of people aren't too crazy about wood chips, but that's a possibility. Leaves So if you have anything left over from the fall, that's not a bad thing to use as a mulch. I just have this pre-shredded straw. Nice thing about straw versus hay is that it actually doesn't have any seeds. So if you're at the store and you don't know the difference, do not put down hay, because then you'll just have a bed full of grass growing. So I'm going to lay this down, and then the final step is just to make sure that it's watered, just to help it settle in and start growing. And like I said, it's supposed to be a little bit overcast this afternoon, which is also going to help. You don't want to stress these plants out too much too early with, you know, too much sunlight or anything. So all right, last step here. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Maybe let us know what varieties of onion you're growing at home. And as always, let's grow buffalo.